motioning?
Yep, I'll motion.
Sure. Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Haley seconds. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. So, public comments, do we don't have public comments? Written communications from the public. New business. Adult computer use. Adult computer use policy.
Yeah, so we've thrown this to staff to take a look at, but really it was pretty short notice, so we haven't had a lot of input yet, actually any input yet. But I looked at it myself. I also ran it through Claude, and here are my things. One, probably the title should either be rules governing use, not rulings, governing use of, or adult computer use policy, which is what we've called it for 20 years. Either way.
Well, I mean, it's in the it's in the agenda like that.
Yeah, in the first paragraph there, the second sentence, what Claude pointed out, the AI, was that perhaps we should say what that acceptable identification is.
Yes.
It seems to me that the access is limited to adults and minors. It should be ages 14 to 17.
To be more consistent
With
with
our
other policies also makes sense.
And then children 13 and under may access with an adult accompanying them at all times. And that would
So
make sense.
14 to 17, and 13 and under.
Correct.
There's nothing, and Claude pointed out there's nothing about accommodations for users with disabilities. I don't know whether that needs to be in the policy, but we do have some accommodations. We have the screen magnifiers. What else do we have? We have, I don't know, bought several things a couple years ago.
We do have the desks that are low that accommodate wheelchairs.
Right.
And we could just put in there accommodations like available upon request, like if you wanted to have certain accommodations.
Yeah, I think we need to, I need to, for you guys to inventory what those accommodations are. So that if we're going to say that
Yeah.
broadly,
No, I don't mean probably, but like.
The AI also suggested we put in here about provisions for extended computer time for patrons under certain circumstances. We took that out of the policy a few years ago, all the time limitations, because we wanted to be able to change that as needed. We've changed it a few times, and we do allow for accommodations. If somebody's working on something and the time's running up, they can request more time.
What is their time?
Well, it's 3 hours now, I believe. It was 2 hours, but we saw usage going down, so we bumped up the time to 3. And actually, usage is up a little bit now, so maybe we've hit the sweet spot. But we could go even higher. But we haven't had a waiting list in the 11 years I've been here, so.
The goal of this policy is to communicate the patrons' responsibilities and our responsibilities.
Expectations.
Yes, basically that's it. Those are the only things that came up in my review of this. I don't know whether we want to define what acceptable identification is, or whether we need to. What it used to say is that if you were a library card holder, all you had to do was go log in. Otherwise, you needed to show us identification. Or was it something that was even more restrictive than that?
I don't think so. We
Uh,
used to treat it as an opportunity to make people get a library card.
Yeah, and they still, you talk to people and say, you don't have to come get a pass from us if you get a library card. You can just outside of Decatur,
If they have a library card from a IHLS library, they can also use that card to log in.
okay. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that. But yeah, that makes sense, because all, recognize the barcode. Yeah. So, I don't know if that's been a problem, but it's something that, that came up. I think the age thing, the title, other than that, I didn't have any issues with anything in here. I think it's difficult when you start, as we learned with the cert policy, it's difficult when you start trying to define what acceptable identification is. And there's also always the argument that if you simply say government issued state ID, that can be inequitable. But we are talking about very few people. We're only talking about visitors from outside of Decatur.
Yeah, and I mean, we also have the patrons who are staying at, one of the shelters in the area, so, like, I mean, it might be helpful to have, like, I think it needs to be consistent with the cert policy, like, whatever acceptable identification would be, right?
We do have some difference. There's one intentional difference between this and the cert policy, and you may have noted in the other policies that we were looking at there too. And that is, it used to be, we said if you owed us more than $25, you couldn't access. And we thought that is counterproductive in a big picture way, because if somebody needs to use the internet to find a job,
Yeah.
to pay your fine,
Right.
that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So we
Yeah,
decided to get rid of that part, but I can see what, I don't know off the top of my head, but what exactly the cert policy says about identification and make it consistent with that. If that would be.
I mean, I think it's helpful for patrons to have, like, consistent expectations of, like, what's required. So, like, if they want to get a library card, like, you have to have one of these. And they're probably, if they're looking at this policy, which I don't know that they're going to look at this policy, but they're not going to look at two different policies to see what's required for a library card and a.
Sure, but again, we're only talking about non-Decatur residents here, so they can get a library card here anyway.
Yeah.
And actually, I think it would probably, let me see the notes. Because we can quickly look at what the cert policy says. If we've got the new one up here.
So I guess, like, I just feel like those people who live in Decatur but don't have a library card, is it missing? Am I just missing it? Because
We're just asking them for ID. People, if you're from outside of Decatur, if you're
Okay, so.
if you're from inside of Decatur and you all you have to do is, if you live in Decatur and you want to use our computer, all you do is walk up and request a guest pass, right? That's how we do that now.
Okay, so that's.
If you have a library card, that's when you get the 3 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're missing the, you live in Decatur but you don't have a library card.
True.
Okay, I'm sorry, I was just like, I thought that's what we were talking about. I didn't know it's visitors outside of Decatur.
And we might say, we can say getting a library card, and it doesn't say how to get it. It says just says who can get it.
Just adequate proof of identity.
Yeah, adequate proof of identity and residency. We've never asked them for that residency portion to use that.
Well, we have in the past, but we changed it,
Right.
because it was like a piece of mail.
Well,
Yeah.
no, I'm talking
Sure.
about to use the computer.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah,
Yes.
residency.
So and we changed that to be broader so that we could have some, make some judgment calls.
Yes.
And I don't know that this has caused any issues. But what we don't have is a way for Decatur residents who don't have a library card to get the 3-hour.
Correct. So that's a question.
Well, we can take that back to division heads and staff and see if they have any thoughts or suggestions on that. Table, just based on that issue alone, we could table this.
And making it what?
Finding a way for Decatur residents who are not card holders to have full access.
Or at least putting.
Without having a library
Yes,
card.
yes. If that's what
If that- I mean, if that's-
inherently-
yeah.
And we
I mean,
can
like-
allow everyone to have 3 hours access if that's what we're,
Yeah, because we don't say anything about the length of access, so we could just.
No, and I'm
So
not.
what does, currently, if you only have a guest pass, what is the time?
and now I'm starting to question everything.
Well, it's like, I've never used the computers here, so that's why I was like, I don't even know
It's
how
been
many
a couple
hours
of
we're
decades
given.
since I've used the computers here.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know what the rules are. or-
I know originally we changed it because we still wanted there to be a reason why you would want to get a Decatur Public Library card. And it was you can bypass us and get more time on the computers if you have it, and if they don't want to do that,
Yeah,
that's
that's
fine,
fair.
we wouldn't
Right.
press them.
Right.
What you get if you don't, it might be 2 hours, it might be 1 hour, I don't remember, that just doesn't sound right now. It probably moved to 3 hours entirely, and the whole point is you bypass us with a library card.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe it's just adding like a guest pass sentence, like, you know,
Yeah.
residents without a library card.
So
Yeah,
what,
residents
so
without
let
library
us come
card.
back to see exactly what current practice is on that and just fold that in there and then you can see whether this is what we want to continue to do or not.
Yeah. Is Jess on the committee for like policies? Like revisions, like the ones you guys bring to us that?
So we started a new well, actually, we'll start a new practice tomorrow, and that will be this. Tomorrow, I'm putting the April policies that you guys are gonna review on the intranet for any staff, which would include Jess to put feedback on.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah, that starts tomorrow.
Yeah.
I sent those policies to Matt this afternoon to put on the intranet tomorrow.
But she was, the year she interned, she had all of our policies to go through.
She's reviewed
More than once.
every one of our policies, yes,
The DEI committee also had it.
correct. She has had her eyes on and given us recommendations that really, that's now over a few years ago, so.
Yeah, have you made any changes since then? I
Yes.
guess that's where it's going. Like, are we making sure we have that lens of serving that community as well? Okay, so.
And I'll find out more about the accessibility accommodations too.
Yeah, I mean, I, like, it, just because, like, I mean, I think that is an interesting thing. I mean, if it is available, we want people to be able to use it, and if it might help people to use the computers to know what kind of accommodations we have, that might.
And we can always add, if we add more, we can add
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
And may I ask a quick question? That if, I know Jess is still looking at policies because she sent me a suggestion on something last week.
Okay.
So, and a policy that we changed last month was the library use guidelines.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of him or her, he or her. Can we change that to that?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Do I need to bring it back to you guys? It's not a substantive change, can I just change that? Okay,
Just
all right.
makes sense to me.
I'm gonna start looking for that from now.
Yeah, I'm glad someone brought that
I
up.
think we've done, like, yeah, I mean,
Yes.
like, it doesn't make sense to be.
Yeah, just, I think it's he or she, or not. She just put, either we remove the pronouns altogether or just put they, which is.
Just
Yeah, I think
They
they
work great.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got, I understand the assignment for this, and we'll bring that back. And you guys can either table it or have me do my homework and we can talk about it in 2 weeks.
Let's say what.
Okay. I can give you a motion.
Oh, sorry. Ashley motions to table the computer use policy.
Kaylee seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alright. Equipment circulation policy. For
Okay,
our
so-
hotspots, right?
Right now it is. So first off, the first out of the gate is that second sentence needs to be eliminated because it happens again 3 sentences later. So the exact same sentence. So right now, again, the only thing this applies to, doesn't mean that there can't be other things in the future, but the only thing this applies to is hotspots. What came up when I ran this through, I did get some feedback on the CERC staff on this, and I also got some feedback from Claude. But one thing is, Claude feels like in the second paragraph, the borrower must have a valid library card for at least 6 months or have the approval of the city librarian or his or her designee. Obviously is a barrier to new residents. And the thinking when this was developed was, hey, if we're checking out things that are expensive and this person doesn't have a track record with us yet, do we want to do that? We don't put any other restrictions on.
You can check out $1,000 worth of books.
Yeah.
Or movies or.
actually can. I would.
This would also restrict those who only have 6-month cards, period.
Yeah.
Who are all, who already have
Yes.
some, there are temporary cards that are issued for people who are unhoused.
Or Millikan students, exception.
I think Millikan students ones are not 6 months, they're per semester, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
They're per, we've got a long-standing agreement with Millikan. But
But they would
Do
have to
we-
start over.
the
Yeah.
question is do we want to do this?
I also can't imagine, like, you being in charge of approving this. I mean, it just,
I've never been asked
yeah.
anything about this, but again, right now, the only equipment we're checking out has no value.
Right, I mean, like, if they don't use
The
if they
equipment-
don't
the
return the
equipment itself.
hotspot, they turn it off. So
Yeah.
it's not like
Right.
we're out money for the.
Yeah, we don't buy the hotspots, we buy the service.
Oh, okay.
And if they don't come back, we simply shut the service off and cancel it and no longer charge for it.
Okay.
So there's no.
So the hotspot itself isn't,
Has no value.
Okay.
We don't pay a thing for it.
I guess I don't even know what a hotspot is, it's just like. a
It's
little
like Wi-Fi.
circle.
Yeah, it's a little disc and,
Okay.
yep. But that doesn't mean there might in the future be
Situations.
other equipment that we might
I
choose
know.
to. I hope not, I'm not really into the library of things, but I do understand that I'm kind of in the minority in the library field about that, but,
That's a lot of,
it's a lot of work, it takes up a lot of space.
it's a lot of, yeah.
It's a great
There's just
idea
a
if you
lot.
have the space and the,
Yeah,
other
I mean,
resources to do it,
right,
but
we do some library things in the form of seeds, but we don't expect them to come back.
right. That's
Yeah,
But
so,
I mean, you're right though, they could easily have hundreds of dollars worth of everything else that we let them check out without the stipulations, so.
now,
Going crazy on
for
the roads.
temporary cards, which are 6 months, they are limited to 5 items. They used to be 5 books, no more than that. And we changed, a couple months ago, we changed it to allow temporary card holders to check out AV items.
Yeah.
So, it really doesn't say anything about equipment for temporary cards. So either in the CERC policy or in this policy, something would have to be said about the temporary cards.
I know, just because we don't do any other circulation, it makes me want to use that household circulation policy, because, like, if we were to have another item that we were going to circulate, it might have different things.
If
Right, the policy might
let's,
change
well,
anyway.
I mean, maybe we should look at it this way. If in 6 months we decide we're gonna start checking out circular saws, I'll bring this policy back.
What is this?
Her eyes went so wide.
What we have actually talked about adding were Kindles or tablets and the launch pads for kids, are 2 things we've actually tried to see if we worked, but it was so complicated before we even got to this point that we
Right.
said, forget it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see that being a
Yeah.
problem.
So
for sure.
since
As
since
a
right
person in
now,
the school district.
what we're
Yes.
checking out has the equipment itself has no value. I would be comfortable with eliminating that entire thing and,
I agree.
Yeah,
And we can always come back to the drawing board if we start checking out different types of equipment, then we would
That
like to
actually
put
has
some more
value. Like,
limits.
that's-
Right, so I didn't have any other concerns, but Claude thought not the very last sentence, but on page 2 near the top, it says, the Decatur Public Library will not reimburse replacement costs or the cost of fees or items returned after the payment has been received. In other words, if you
Return.
lose something, you get charged for it, you pay it, and then you find it, we're not going to give you your money back. Now, that is our current policy for books, DVDs, CDs, all that stuff, because the issue is,
We've already replaced it.
we've already replaced it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, if this happens in practice, and I check and we have not replaced it, I will usually refund the money. But if we have replaced it, I'm not going to do it.
For sure.
So I don't have a problem with this. Claude thought it was an equity issue, but I think it's fine. I will say that there's nothing about, we've got a threshold for checking out a book of $25, but we have nothing on here. Should it be in here?
I think the reason it's not in there is because there's no value.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah, maybe at this point it would be silly to add it in, but
like,
to make it consistent with the other circulation policies, and the ILL policy that we're about to talk about, and the CERT policy.
Yeah.
Now, you can have a good reason not to, like we chose to do with the adult computer use policy. We took that threshold out because we thought it was counterproductive. But you can't check out a book if you have an overdue book.
Yeah.
Even overdue, even if you don't owe any money yet. So, to me, to be consistent,
I agree with that.
Yeah, let's be consistent.
so I'll add that language in, that I'll just pull it straight from the CERT policy.
Is the notice, the overdue 10 days, like, is this actually happening?
Yes.
Okay. I just,
Well, that's my understanding that it's happening. I will say this, we don't always get it turned off on the day that, the service turned off on the exact day that it's.
Yeah.
But Lisa Tokars handles it, and she does a really good job of managing that stuff, so,
that's a really good job.
yes, she does. Okay, so I'll eliminate that second sentence.
Okay.
I'll eliminate the second sentence in the second paragraph. I'll add the CERT policy language about overdue items and the $25 threshold, and we'll call it there.
All right. Makes sense to me.
All right. Does everybody want to make a motion with the changes
motion.
Ashley will second.
Alright, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright. I will,
I am not.
Ryan,
Okay, so this is only about interlibrary loans outside of shares, not the ones that you can just click a button. This is when you have to, hey, you go to the librarian and say, I can't find it in share, can you help me find this book and help me get it, okay? The $5 fee for me came up, you know. Do we want to put, sometimes there is a cost to us, oftentimes, there's usually a cost to us. It's not big, but, and it's usually under $5 and that's kind of a cost recovery number. I want to add some perspective, we're talking about a few hundred, this covers about a few hundred transactions a year, okay? That's something, I don't know, if we want to keep that fee.
I think it's reasonable.
Now, if we keep it, do we want to collect it in advance? I haven't had a chance to talk to Julie yet, and Julie and Mark handles these, but.
I mean, this is the current policy.
Correct.
Okay.
It's the current policy, and we actually have a workflow procedure that Eckerd to develop that falls in line with this so that it ensures that whoever's at the desk collects the $5 fee in advance. And if it is no longer able to be filled, that form generates this person gets a refund. And they are told to go back to the reference desk and they get it back. Part of the reason outside of this is also, instead of somebody coming in and ordering a bunch of things but never picking them up, when there's money involved, they choose
Because
exactly what they want.
we
Yeah.
will get charged for it regardless.
Mhm.
If they say, if it gets sent, you know, we'll get charged for it. And the other thing is the last sentence there, the interlibrary loan request will not be processed for patrons with overdue materials of more than $25 in unpaid fees. Claude thought that this was inequitable. I think it's good. Circ staff thought it should be any money. So what we heard from Circ staff is
Tough out
if
here.
they owe any money, maybe we should put a block on interlibrary loans because that's putting somebody else's materials at risk, is their thinking.
Okay.
Keep in mind though that if they don't, that we pay those
Right.
those fees for the
At the
libraries,
end of it.
and then we have to try to collect from our patrons.
Right.
If they don't
They
pay
use
us,
us.
we eat the fee.
Okay.
My personal opinion is this is consistent with the other policies,
Correct.
and I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Both artificial intelligence and real intelligence who work for us took exact opposite views on it. So I think it's fine. I think it's consistent with other policies, but I thought I'd just share with you guys that that's the feedback that I got. Honestly, I think this policy's good, but
Do we know like the value or like some of the items that we get? Or is it, you know,
Covered giving out or whatever.
it's, well, here's, the last time I got an ILL from, it was out of state,
like we received one from someone?
when
Or you
last
got
time I requested it.
Okay.
I happen to know that the replacement value of that book, long out of print, would have been a couple $100.
Because I mean, if we're
Because
going,
I tried to buy it.
if they're going out of state, I mean, then it's a hard to find item. No?
It's not necessarily, but there's probably maybe a slightly higher chance of that. But I mean, you're going, not necessarily even going out of state, you're going out of share.
Okay.
There are some materials that once requested, they agree to send them, but they must stay in the library. They can only be used on certain things.
Some libraries will put those restrictions on.
Okay.
So we have had things like that where we know when it comes in, you get it for this period of time, it has to be used here, and when you're done, you're done.
Yeah, because microphone seems like it might need some support.
Yeah, I don't think there's a hard and fast rules out. It could be all over the place. It could be, replacement cost could be anywhere from negligible to
Substantial.
and some libraries simply won't lend if it's too.
Valuable.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, then if you can't eat it, you don't.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I think this is a policy that, my view is that this policy has worked pretty well. And it is, we've seen a little bit of growth in this in the last year or so, but not much. We're talking, again, a few hundred transactions a year, so as opposed to many thousands per month.
And I also think with the development of the workflow and the new procedure for it, that we're much better at it than we were prior. We pay much better attention at the limitations and why they're there.
For the items that could be very costly, could we put our own restrictions on that item's use? Like, some libraries put it on their own materials, hey, this can't leave your library, they can only use it there. Could we do the same if someone does want to request an item that we know would be very costly?
To replace.
Well, we'd have to know
replace.
that first. That would require some labor to check on that, some time to check on it. And we don't do it for our own materials, and it's something that we've discussed a couple of times that we do have, since we moved some reference materials to circulating, some of those the replacement cost is significant, or we probably wouldn't replace it.
Probably.
But there are, we do have a handful of things that are, of some, certainly more than your typical $14, $15, $20 replacement
Right.
cost. Yes, could we do it? I think we could. Should we is another question. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the answer to that.
Have we ever had a problem where something very costly just did not make it back?
Well, yeah. But very costly is relative.
Yeah.
I haven't, we had one patron that was our stuff, and it was because he was being allowed to continue to check out for some reason. He kept destroying our materials.
Was that an accident, or was that recent?
No, it was a few years ago.
Yeah, I feel like
You were probably.
yeah, I feel like I remember that situation.
Yeah, he racked up over $1,000 worth of materials that he had damaged, and somehow continued to be allowed to check out.
I wondered if there was a reason that the staff is like, don't make this any unpaid fees, and Claude is like,
Yeah,
it would make sense if some of the staff has.
the feedback I got from the staff wasn't that they were worried about it. It was they were worried about, it's different when it's not our stuff, and maybe
Yeah.
we shouldn't be taking that gamble.
Yeah.
That was how it was explained to me. It was, Carol said she took it to her staff, and that's what she said that she got from a couple of them, was maybe it should be, if you owe us any money, we're not going to do it out loud for you. I don't think that's fair for this reason. If you have a $25 threshold, you can keep checking out. Back when we used to have late fees, I knew I was eventually going to get for $25. And I didn't pay it until I got to $25. But I always paid it. So I don't think I was that unusual in that. I would pay once I ran up against that, and it wasn't, a case of, if you owe us $5, you must be irresponsible. Maybe you're just like, I'll pay it when I get to the.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just because you have
I'm a
unpaid
stressor.
fees does not
Yeah.
mean that you were
Like,
a
oh my
problem
God.
child.
Yeah, I would
So-
say, I think, let's go with this, it's been working. If
It's already
it becomes
they've already
a
got a
problem,
system going.
Well, it's
let's
consistent
revisit
with
it.
the other
I'd say
policies.
Carol, I'm not saying you have to keep a close eye on it, whoever, manages the ILL, if we're getting things back, they're damaged or they're not returning, let's revisit it.
Our biggest, you'll see that the checks we write to other libraries are libraries that then share.
Yeah.
You see that you guys see that every month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
These are our neighbors. Exactly, so we're not, this is not a costly program for us.
Yeah.
And it's not a well-used program, and, you know, that's the other reason not, in my view, not to spend a whole lot of time.
I mean, Share has such a good,
Yeah.
just like good variety of stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I run up against, it's usually when I get something that's long out of print, you
Yeah.
know. And I run up against it every once in a while where, you know, share libraries have it, but most of the time, share libraries don't have it.
okay. Well, so the main changes are you were just highlighting.
I'm
things.
not,
No,
I'm
Jerry
not,
was
I'm telling you what came up in
Okay.
in this, because I'm not recommending
So,
any changes.
I'm not, I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah,
say,
I don't think it needs to change.
all right, then anybody want to recommend to send this to the board?
I'll motion to send this to the board, the full board.
All right, Ashley, give seconds. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so any other new business? All right. Old business, so the city library evaluation, I was checking with Carl, he just got back to me like right before this meeting, so, we'll talk to you about Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. So we were out all last week, so.
Correct.
So, that's the
Yeah, I'll let
plan.
you know.
And we'll chat about the timing, and then any other old business. Okay. If anybody else, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I will motion to adjourn.
Ashley motions to adjourn. Haley seconds. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.